Morning, afternoon, not sure what time it is. It's Friday, I know that, and tomorrow AFC Bournemouth travel to Vicarage Road to play Watford. We would love a repeat of last year's 4-0, wouldn't we? However, after last week's, I would call it a debacle, home against Norwich, we need an improvement in performance, and I hope Eddie Howe will be overseeing that because there were a number of aspects that were not good enough. It was great that we kept a clean sheet. However, performance-wise, levels were not anywhere near what we should expect. And if we are where we want to be, those are the teams we should be beating. No disrespect to Norwich, because they did perform incredibly well, very well organised, and I like their team shape. However, we've encountered tougher battles before and come through it a lot better than that, and that was down to individuals on the day. I think there were a couple of players that may be lucky to keep their places this week, but we'll go through the predicted team lineup a bit later on. Eddie Howe has come out of his press conference this morning, and one of the first things he touched on was the good news that Aaron Ramsdale has signed a contract extension with the club. Eddie Howe said, "It's the start of a long journey for Aaron, but we're delighted that he has signed a new contract. He's been in great form, credit to him. There's a long way to go, but he has done well." In the week, there was a Twitter debate. Do we call him Rambo or Rammers? What are your thoughts? There's a poll right there. Click it, because I've always called him Rambo, but now more people are calling him Rammers. It doesn't really matter anyway. But Aaron, great to see you confirm your future with the club, and he tweeted as well to say that he was delighted that the deal has got over the line. Hopefully now he can concentrate on his football, not that it's been affecting him, because he's been putting in worldy performances, and that save he made at the end of the game, towards the end in the second half, that shut Norwich out, well, I mean, that was a cracking save. Got down low to his right, and a top guy and a really solid foundation for our defence. And we've seemingly got that defence sorted now, you would think. But we'll come on to the team lineup, as I say, a bit later on. Eddie Howe was obviously disappointed with how it went last Saturday. He said, "We were able to shut out the opposition last week, but it's important that we build on that this weekend. Watford is a ground that we know very well, and we got a good result there last season, but it will be tough." Speaking of the change in manager that Watford had, it's that sort of merry-go-round that seems to happen every so often. Watford recruit very good managers, and they've built on the squad that they have. I'm surprised to see their bottom, but they have the quality in the squad to turn it around. If we focus on their league position, that is the wrong motivation. And I do completely agree. League position effectively doesn't mean much at all. When you see that we finished 9th in the Premier League on 46 points, yet last season that would have put us in 13th or 14th. You've got to focus on the actual points tally that you got. Now, Watford, of course, they haven't picked up many points, but have you seen how congested the table is? If we lose at the weekend and certain results go against us, we could be ending up in 15th, 16th. So I don't buy into this philosophy that we're top, we are in mid-table position, 10th, top half. Not a subscriber to that, and the performance levels do actually concern me. Now, in terms of the team news, just quoting a few tweets from the press conference from Peter Rutzler from The Athletic. If you get a chance to subscribe to that, please do so, because it's the home of incredible AFC Bournemouth content, really insightful articles. There was a great one this week on Callum Wilson and his road to recovery from the ACL, which is very difficult and mentally painstaking to have that process not happen not only once but twice. But Jefferson Lerma is available. David Brooks is getting closer on grass now, but not with the group, which is great. Dan Gosling similar. Junior Stanislas, of course, some way off. Eddie Howe also said, "You want to win and win quickly. It's important to get back to winning ways as quick as possible." And that's pretty much it, to be honest. So that's our side of things. I'm going to work out the team, but in the meantime, on the podcast on Monday, we managed to catch up with Watford fan Andy Lewers from the Hornets Nest. He also produces the Stairway to 7th podcast and presents it too, which is a great pod focusing on everything barring the top 6. So these were his thoughts on Watford's season so far, as well as his predictions for Saturday's game.
Well, it's obviously been a pretty miserable start to the season for Watford. 9 games in, rock bottom, winless still, and with an 8-0 defeat away at Manchester City, just to rub salt into the wound as well. It's certainly not a position that any Watford fan thought we would ever be in going into that FA Cup final back in May. Getting rid of Javi Gracia after 4 games as well didn't really come as a surprise to Watford fans. I think it was more so the timing of the sacking than anything, but I think a lot of opposition fans were sort of taken aback by that decision. But if you look at it from a Watford perspective, we'd gone, I think, in the last 30-odd Premier League games, we'd only picked up 33 points. The last 2 games we had won before Javi's sacking in the league were against already relegated Huddersfield and Fulham, who we relegated that night, and we hadn't kept a clean sheet since February at the time. So a slightly baffling decision maybe to some opposition fans, but to Watford fans it actually kind of made a bit of sense. And so in came Quique Sanchez-Flores, through the apparent revolving door that Watford have, and people questioning why has he come back. He got sacked apparently at the end of his first season back in 15-16 after he kept Watford in the Premier League following promotion and guided us to that FA Cup semi-final. But actually it kind of made sense. At the time, what Watford desperately needed was a bit of defensive solidity. You only had to watch the first 4 games, a 3-0 opening day defeat to Brighton, a 3-1 at home to West Ham, the defeat there, to see that Watford's defence was really shabby. And whilst the recruitment over the summer defensively was, in my opinion, really not up to standard, with just Craig Dawson coming in from Championship West Brom, it's largely the same squad last season that challenged for a European spot right up until the final few games. So Watford were crying out for some sort of defensive organisation, and we saw that under Quique in his season at Vicarage Road in 15-16. And the signs have been good since he came back in, actually. In the last 2 games, we got a clean sheet against Sheffield United before the international break, first one since February, and then this weekend, a 1-1 draw away at Spurs. Could have been, almost should have been 3 points, had VAR awarded us a penalty and disallowed Spurs' goal right at the end. But any point away to one of those big 6 sides is a good point in my eyes. So there has been some signs of progress defensively for Watford. If we can match that by being a little bit more clinical up front, then I think we're onto something good. I do think we'll stay in the division. I think we just need that first win to give us that bit of confidence, that bit of momentum to take into the following games. And sadly for us now, that Bournemouth game next week is looking like a must-win game. Bournemouth, obviously, a very difficult side. We've had some excellent games against the Cherries over the past few seasons, but it's going to be a close one, I think. But I think the way Watford have been progressing under Quique Sanchez-Flores, it gives me a little bit of confidence going into the game next weekend. So I'm going to put my neck on the line and say that Watford are going to run out 2-0 winners.
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, Watford in their last match, they did better, didn't they? They were unlucky not to win, really. I know there were a number of VAR contentious issues last weekend, and not least their game, but maybe they have turned a corner. It's going to be a really difficult game. Nothing like that 4-0. We were predicting that against Norwich, who I think are a poorer side. Alas, I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting match. If you get the Watford programme tomorrow, I actually do a piece in it that talks about Bournemouth's season so far. I don't mean to come over negative, but I'm not feeling it like many other people are feeling it. It's just the performance levels that really worry me. Anyhow, let's forget about this. Team lineup coming soon, but firstly, hate advertising, but just a very quick one. Beers. beer52.com/AFCB. They're helping support the show by any purchase, funding the podcast directly. So that's the reason we're doing it. But it's quite nice if you want to have some beers. It's a monthly subscription club, but the first month with Back of the Net is free. You just cover the postage of £4.95, and you can cancel at any time. So in your first box, you'll get 10 beers, a snack, and a magazine. If you're not keen on it, just cancel. Less than £5, not bad, and every purchase goes to help the podcast out, so I appreciate that. Team lineup wise, let's see what I'm thinking. Ramsdale, of course. I think the back four will stay solid. Rico, Ake, Cook, and Adam Smith. Adam Smith played really well last week, and for many people was man of the match. I know that the sponsors went for Philip Billing. However, Adam Smith I thought was very composed, and I've got to say it's probably going to be unchanged. I can't imagine anything sort of different happening. So that pretty much speaks volumes, really, the fact that we kept a clean sheet. In the midfield, I honestly think he'll stick with 4-4-2. I think he will. And Lewis Cook, I think, will miss out. Shape-wise, I don't think he helped the team by being so deep. In the first half, in the second half, he was a bit improved, but he was really deep. He was effectively playing in front of the defence. So, as I said in the podcast, when you've got Fraser wide on one side and Harry Wilson on the other, Philip Billing's got a lot of work to do in the middle by himself, which meant that Norwich, who were packing out the midfield, were just retaining so much possession. They had 53% of the ball last week. So I'm sure he'll want to bring Lerma in to shore that up. And I think, once again, he'll go with Fraser and he'll go with Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson is getting better, not hitting the levels, but he's going to play him, isn't he? Let's be fair. And maybe with Adam Smith behind him on that right-hand side, perhaps it will give him a little bit more licence to run at defenders and be a little bit more experimental, because you want to see him running at people like, say, David Brooks does. And I think he'll stick with Solanke and Wilson up front. Solanke had our clearest opportunity last week, put it towards the keeper. He needs a goal, but his hold-up play can't be ignored. He does make a few silly errors with flicks and things like that. However, on the whole, he's been all right. But he needs a goal. He definitely needs a goal, and maybe Watford is that team. I would have loved to have experimented with this lineup and say changed it to a 4-3-3 or something like that. Hang on, I've forgotten Josh King. Oh my god. No, Solanke, okay, King and Wilson up front. King did so well against Watford last season. I think King will start up front. That's what I'm going for. King. Solanke's going to be off the bench, I think. The only other thing I can think of is him playing King on one side, Fraser wide on the other. And then putting Solanke and Wilson up front. But I'm going to stick with 4-4-2, but I will replace King with Solanke, or the other way around. That's my lineup. What's yours? Let me know in the comments below. Drinking wise, we all have a beer. 52. We're going to be at the Oddfellows before the game. Getting there for around 12:30, having a couple of beers, and it will be nice to see you all there. The Oddfellows is about a 5 minutes walk from the ground. Got a big outdoor beer garden. Actually, what is the weather like in Watford tomorrow? Watford BBC weather. I'm hoping it's going to be alright, so we can all pack out the beer garden. It's going to be pissing it down. And it's not it's a big beer garden. There are some outdoor sheltered bits, but it's quite small inside, so that's going to be fun. Anyway, Oddfellows, there is rain, temperature's 15 degrees, so I think it's going to be kind of like, a little bit wet, but I'm looking forward to it anyway. Really want to see us get back to winning ways, and hopefully we're going to do so. I'm going to predict a draw. It's always a scoring one with Watford, so I'm going to go for a 2-2, but I'd love to think that we could come away sort of 3-1 winners. If that happened, I would be more than happy. I'll be outside the ground doing interviews. Look out for me. Obviously, kit-wise, we're going to be wearing the red and black kit, not this one because this is an old one. It's the Wembley kit, basically. We're going to be wearing white shorts and white socks. They did originally announce it was going to be navy, the navy kit, the away kit, but I think in the Premier League, you've got to make sure each and every part of the kit does not have any close resemblance, and I think they decided that the sort of blue shorts that we have are too close to Watford's black, which is fair enough. So therefore, we're going to be reverting to white shorts and white socks. So yeah, that John Bailey picture, great days. If you went to Wembley, give this video a thumbs up. I want to know everyone that went. But yeah, if you like this content, please do subscribe and consider helping us out by, if you're over 18, by having a cheeky try of the Beer 52 subscription club as well. As you say, cancel at any time, $4.95, 10 beers, not bad. And listen to the podcast for more information on that. And of course, the last week's podcast can be seen on afcbpodcast.com. And the next one will be out on that and all your podcast apps like iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, blah, blah, blah. All right. Right. See you tomorrow. It feels like there's something I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it is. So I'll just have to tell you on the next video. See you later. Up the cherries. Enjoy. Back in the day! Back in the day!